Hey everybody, it is Trags Mike Petralia back with the latest installment of the Jungle Roar podcast on the CLNS Media Network, powered by our good friends at Prize Picks and All Good Home Improvements. My pleasure to welcome back to the pod a colleague of mine for about, let's say 2 minutes and 36 seconds on Monday night in Landover, Maryland. The Bengals and Commanders preseason game number 2 was, of course, on Channel 5. That would be WLWT. And he, of course, is Charlie Clifford. Charlie, thanks for having me on. We went bananas, didn't we?
We did, and a special recognition to DC's finest, the Royal Port George
Princess George. It's Princess George.
Thank you. Those guys were fabulous. They ensured the most important part of the WLWT sports operation. Photographer Colin Porter got home in one piece because we were walking through a sea of Commanders fans there in the main concourse, and that was just a blast. So
Colin, by the way, yes, Colin was not just walking, he was walking backwards, filming us walking forward. And anybody who has ever seen cameramen or photographers, ENGs back in the day, do their work, to do that, have a steady camera and walk backwards, I couldn't do it. It takes Colin, tip of the cap to you.
I'm literally an idiot in a suit, and you're a guy holding a banana and a microphone.
Yes.
That's what we did while he was holding a 40-pound camera shuffling backwards for 3 straight minutes. That was Emmy stuff.
You know what the Bengals couldn't hold last night? A tackler, a ball carrier. They couldn't hold a ball carrier. They couldn't catch a ball carrier. It was all runs on Monday night. But all kidding aside, I wrote this for CLNS To me, the reason you're not concerned about the Bengals defense, and Zac Taylor was not concerned. He loves the way he used the word, I love this defense where we are right now. The reason he probably does is he's got a couple of veterans on that defense that just didn't give effort in a preseason game. To me, the point of attack was what caused those gashing runs on Monday night. 4 plays on the first drive by Jaden Daniels of Washington. His only drive of the night. 4 runs, he didn't throw the ball, and 74 yards, and including a 40-yarder by Chris Rodriguez. I just don't think the Bengals defense had any interest in really being on that field on Monday night.
If you're Zac Taylor, you can't sound an alarm bell in the preseason, right? I mean, we expected to hear what he said, especially coming off last year. If there was a wow, that was embarrassing. Wow, what were we doing? If he's saying that, then what the headlines, instead of you writing the headlines, just Taylor : says this is unacceptable. So I understand that part of it. I understand him saying, referring to the game plan as close to the vest. We translate that to base defense. There's no exotic packages or whatever. But what you said is, that's what's happening right now. Much like last year, much like what you saw developing in the 2023 season, up front, they're getting moved. And then you have issues in the gaps. You mentioned the big run by Rodriguez. It looked like Knight Jr., who, again, hasn't looked like a rookie, but he reminded us last night that he is a rookie. Gets in the wrong gap. Him and Jordan Battle are essentially shoulder to shoulder. There's nobody up the middle, and there you go for 45 yards. The Jordan Battle, Tyson Anderson, screenshot of 3 guys. Jaden Daniels is at the 10. How on earth does that quarterback make it in the end zone, let alone not end up on his backside at any point during the play? I don't know if that was a situation on a touchdown run where they were all thinking, surely he's going to park it and slide down here at the 3 or the 4. Right. It's the preseason. And, oh, wait, he didn't. He kind of got us there. And, but either way, it's just, as you said, for a defense that's trying to prove to itself that, hey, we can be something. We can believe in ourselves. They've done none of that through 2 preseason games. And the third preseason game, the song and dance is. You're not putting anyone out there who's going to be in Cleveland. So it's over. You whiffed twice.
Yeah, and I think, the Bengals are going to rely on their defense just to hold them in games while Joe Burrow and the offense outscore people. That's been the game plan pretty much the entire offseason. I want to go back to what Zac Taylor said and what he didn't say. And I think a lot of Bengal fans want to hear the following. They want to hear what Sean McDermott said after the Bills were humiliated also on national television. Bengals won their game, obviously, 31-17. The Bills did not. In Chicago, they were ripped apart by Caleb Williams and the Bears backups by a score of 38-0. And Sean McDermott says, I don't care if it's the first team, second team, third team, fourth team, that was not our standard. You know full well if that happened to a John Harbaugh team or a Mike Tomlin team, the messaging would be different. But Zac Taylor, and to his credit, he has been consistent his entire tenure here in Cincinnati. He's not going to go ripping his players. He's not going to go off emotional. He's going to do things, and he's going to find ways to motivate his team the way he sees fit.
Yeah, and, that's not, as you said, especially applies with the preseason. I would expect that to continue. If it's bumpy early in the year, you're going to hear a lot of, hey, new coordinator, new system. We got rookies here. We got Trey, right back in the mix late in the game. I guess my question for you is, how good can it realistically look in September defensively? Because after Cleveland and Jacksonville, maybe that's kind of your silver lining. Hey, you're going to see Joe Flacco and you're going to see Trevor Lawrence trying to piece something back together in Jacksonville.
Right.
Maybe they catch a break there out of the gate, because it's quickly going to change with what O'Connell's doing in Minnesota, with what Bo Nix has already shown with Peyton and Denver, and then Detroit, Green Bay in there. Like, this is going to get pretty real pretty quick from a quarterbacking standpoint after those first two games.
I think two of the players that kind of alarm me at this point, Logan Wilson has got to be better than he was on Monday night. He got trapped when he slipped over a block on that big run by Chris Rodriguez. And then I think the safety play has to be better, both run stopping in the run support and obviously defending the pass. We didn't see that much because we only saw one pass against the first team defense on Monday night. But still, those are the two areas where if they pick up their level of play, and you get Trey Hendrickson back, you get BJ Hill back, and he is healthy. There's a lot to be said for where is BJ Hill exactly? What are you hearing with regard to BJ Hill?
Well, that's the question this week. I think that's now you're turning into this getting ready for Cleveland mode, right?
Right.
That clock's starting to tick for everybody internally. And, this thing popped up in the offseason program. There really weren't clear answers on exactly what the injury was. He was in a boot. And then, he started doing a little bit. All we've heard is, hey, we know who BJ Hill is. As long as he's good for week one, we're not concerned about which boxes he checks. But you're right. From a conditioning standpoint, those boxes now need to be hit in order to be on the field and be productive for, good portions of the time. They have the luxury of having a rotation there with Jackson, Jenkins, Slayton. We'll see what happens with guys like Howard Cross, but I'm with you. I think this week those questions will need to be asked, and clear answers on where Hill's at here with 19 days to go ahead of September 7th.
Speaking with Charlie Clifford of WLWT in Cincinnati, the game on Monday night was on Channel 5, and Charlie Clifford and yours truly were both there in attendance. And we want to move on now, as I check my notes, to the other big story. Well, first of all, your thoughts real quick, 30 seconds, Trey Hendrickson, go.
Thought Burrow said everything we've thought since that trade request was granted in March. This is going to be a September headline. This is going to be a September, signature. I think this is going to go right up until, late in that week leading up to Cleveland. And that's in the good case, that's best case scenario. If they needed any reminder of who needs to be out there with this defense, I think the first 2 preseason games told you everything you needed to see.
Yeah, and I am of the belief, until I'm proven otherwise, they want Trey Hendrickson back. Trey Hendrickson wants to be back, ideally, on a team that he sees as a Super Bowl contender if the defense plays up to a better standard than it has in the first 2 preseason games. I think Trey Hendrickson's deal gets done, but we'll wait and see.
I agree completely, and no coincidence that he and Duke Tobin right on the sideline in the public eye for literally, we aren't exaggerating, about a half hour pregame yesterday. That wasn't serendipitous. I think there was some planning there on probably on Tobin's part. And
a couple of things there. I said 30 seconds. Of course, it's my podcast. I'm going to blow that all to smithereens. Trey Hendrickson does not make that trip with the team after that story broke on Sunday morning about the Bengals listening to trade offers again, unless there's still a professional relationship that exists between the player and the team. And I think it's important for people to understand that this is all part of the negotiating dynamic, if you will, in the National Football League. This is how it gets, and it's particularly part of the dynamic with the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, are going to move on here and talk about the another big storyline, and that's offensive guard, namely the right guard position. Here's what we know right now. Cody Ford apparently is dealing with some unspecified injury that has him dinged up, and he was not available on Monday night. Lucas Patrick got beat once on Monday night and was running around along with a couple of other offensive linemen when Joe Burrow got sacked back at the 1-yard line. He came out of the game. He then went back into the game, but cameras caught him holding his chest, shoulder area. So we believe he's dinged up. That's what Zac Taylor said after the game. That put the rookie Jalen Rivers in at right guard with Joe Burrow on the field, which was stunning to me to actually see that, but that was the case. And I think that speaks highly to the trust they have in Jalen Rivers at this point. He's not perfect, but they trust him to be on the field. But it also speaks to the depth that they desperately need. Dalton Risner visiting with the Bengals as we speak today on Tuesday as we record this podcast, in for a visit with the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you make of it? And does Dalton Risner leave Cincinnati without a signed contract with the Bengals?
Well, isn't this when we bring his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, into the third box and we just say, hey,
we'd love to do that.
How was Ruby's? How was the steak platter, steak sandwich at Ruby's with the iced tea? I mean, they're in a bind. Risner makes a ton of sense. He's gotten so much pub really going back to before the combine, right around the combine. Oh, he's on the watch list in Cincinnati. Why isn't he on a team? I guess that's my number one question. Why is it August 19th and he's still not signed anywhere? I think there's something to read into there, but nonetheless, it would make sense for both sides. And I think you would have a legitimate 3-horse race. I don't know if there's enough time for week 1, but certainly early in the season where, okay, we're going to start with somebody. And if we don't like the performance, or if, as you mentioned, these injuries linger, hey, there's no hesitation to put Risner in there fairly early in the season. How does that shake out on the back end of the roster with somebody getting pinched off the, offensive line room on the initial roster? That would be interesting to see. But yeah, I think it's becoming a bigger need than it was 1 week ago when Patrick was healthy. Ford was healthy. Ford was out at tackle. You and I were debating back and forth who's going to be the starting right guard. What's your take right now? Let's pencil in health not being an issue for Ford and for Patrick, and let's assume Risner's visit goes well and he shows up here. Who do you think is out there in Cleveland?
If Cody Ford is healthy, Cody Ford.
Yeah,
I think Cody Ford has looked the most stable at that job when he was given it at the start of training camp, and also during OTAs and minicamp. I thought Cody Ford, looked the most trustworthy. Then I would go probably Lucas Patrick and then Risner. But Patrick has not looked good. And I got to tell you, Charlie, I know Joe Burrow after the game said that we'll make the best of whoever's out there. I don't know if that line from Burrow caught your attention. It caught mine.
It did now. It does now, the way you said
it. And the way he said it was, I know that there are always going to be holes on the offensive line. I think he was kind of just acknowledging the reality of playing quarterback in the NFL. There's always going to be an issue in front of you on the offensive line. You as a quarterback have to deal with that. As an offensive leader, have to deal with that. And I asked Burrow, one way of dealing with that is having an efficient running game. They haven't had that in years past. They do now. And I think that, and I could see Burrow nodding with me when I was asking the question. I think he does feel more confident in the fact that I don't have to take a beating back here. We can actually either swing it to Chase Brown, swing it to Samaje Perine, or have him run it right up the middle. There are other options.
Yeah, I mean, he's just Hercules at this point. 48 sacks last year. He has the best passing season in franchise history. All the negative stuff on the outside about the guard play, and he still put together what he did. I mean, I always go back to the more time we spend talking about this offense this preseason, the more time we're almost wasting. Like this offense is built to win a Super Bowl right now. Yep. There is nothing you can point out as a roadblock to that, to that objective. So, how it shakes out at right guard, you're right. When health comes into the equation, that's when you get worried, because that's where you start looking at depth and start wondering, well, shoot, what about Cordell Volson now? This again, we don't know the severity yet, but that didn't sound good. So, yeah, once those dominoes start falling and the injuries pile up, obviously, then you have a different problem on your hands. But I think they'll figure it out.
All right, he is Charlie Clifford. Does a great job covering all things Cincinnati sports for Channel 5 here in Cincinnati. Want to tell you about Prize Picks, the very best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. On Prize Picks, you can also mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite basketball players with players from football, baseball, hockey, esports, and much, much more. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup is not perfect. You can double your prize money even if one of your picks does not hit. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Back with Charlie Clifford of Channel 5 here in Cincinnati. All right. We've talked a lot about uncertainty, some negativity. Let's talk about a great storyline from Monday night, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
The pride of Penn State, Mitchell Tinsley. What a story. What those two touchdown catches at the end of the first half, like, opened my eyes this wide. I'm like, those were not those could have been made in training camp. They could have been made in OTAs, and I would have been like, wow, Mitchell Tinsley really stood out. And he's been doing that all training camp. To do that in the game under, I use pressure in quotes, preseason, but with the clock winding down at the end of the half with some certainly urgency to the matter, to those two drives, he came up big. It's great to see.
14 points in 20 seconds. It's like Reggie Miller stuff at the Garden. I mean, it's just a reminder, Trags, of how good these guys are. And when you have an opportunity, it's just amazing how thin the margins are in this league. It's all about fit. It's all about having a quarterback when you're a pass catcher who can get you the ball, and then, you're staying healthy and just keeping that spot locked down. This guy can play. I mean, this dude, I really wonder if some executive was watching last night because it was a national TV game. We're so thin at wide receiver. Let's call Cincinnati and see, hey, do you want this like 6th round guard who's had a nice camp, but we just have no spot for him? Do you want this dude for that Tinsley guy? Because we think he could like catch 50 passes for us this year. I don't know.
Here's why the Bengals don't do that. Here's why they don't do that. If something happens to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, or God forbid they lose both of them for any period of time,
no doubt.
You need a player like Mitchell Tinsley who can go in there and make those catches, along with certainly Andre Yosavash. I'm not forgetting about him. Charlie Jones had a nice game on Monday night. And in a situation where the Bengals needed him to step up, he did. I want to ask you about Jermaine Burton.
I was just about to ask you. I mean, come on. If you're him last night watching that game, I don't think he traveled with the team due to injury. I mean, you gotta be like, this suddenly looks a lot different than it did a month ago when Jones is just trying to rehab to get back. And you probably, let's face it, you don't know who Mitchell Tinsley is. I mean, that's going to be a situation where, he's going to be on the roster, but like, he's not going to be returning kicks. Jones is your guy there. I don't know. I don't know. You're right. Until an injury pops up, I don't see a path for Jermaine Burton really to be on the field.
Well, and we are assuming, he has not been on the field, not because of anything disciplinary. Yeah. This is where as we understand, it's purely a knee type of physical injury that's keeping him off the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but you're right. Like, what's the outlook? How do you, if you're Troy Walters, who's in the end of camp meeting, kind of giving you your speech of getting ready for the season, like, what's the bait you're kind of giving him? Like, we're going to work you in on 4 snaps a game. Like, just to, I don't know. And like, if I'm working somebody in right now, it's probably Jones or Tinsley, right? I mean, that's just
right.
Sorry. That's how it shook out.
I love the fact also that Joe Burrow gave him an endorsement, both on ESPN and after the game.
Was that live on SportsCenter?
I was listening to Kelsey Conway of the Inquirer ask Tinsley, because I was in the scrum post game with Tinsley, and she said that apparently Joe Burrow on ESPN gave him quite the ringing endorsement.
Okay, in game,
correct. Yeah. And then of course you were there when Joe was asked about Tinsley.
Yeah,
I think by Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com. Do you think he has a spot? And Joe said, I hope so. So I mean, if Joe Burrow is saying that, and Joe Burrow is the one in charge of throwing the ball around the field, you would think that goes a long way. If I'm Mitchell Tinsley, I know I'm not getting the cart before the horse here, and I'm not trying to get it too far ahead of myself, but I'm thinking, boy, that after the game I just had, the work that I put on film, what I've done in practice, I'm feeling pretty good about a spot with the Bengals.
He's on it, and unfortunately, that's what Isaiah Williams, who's kind of the odd guy out.
I would think so.
Hey, you saw last year. I mean, that's another guy who can play. He can return kicks. He can catch.
He'll find a spot somewhere.
Yeah, if it shakes out that way, no doubt. But shoot, there's no deeper wide receiver room in the NFL, and I would love to see the gap between first and second, because these guys, they're loaded right now. They're loaded.
Speaking with Charlie Clifford of Channel 5 here in Cincinnati. I want to tell you about All Good Home Improvement. All Good has been helping homeowners for 32 years. When looking for a home improvement company, the number one quality that the lovely Deborah Ann and I were looking for when looking for a new roof was trust. Who could we trust to do the job, do it safely, do it completely, and at a good cost? For the last 32 years, All Good has been trusted to help homeowners replace their windows, install new vinyl siding, install new gutters, and professionally install a new roof. All Good offers interest-free financing with payments starting at just $99 a month. And here's another kicker. no money down. All of All Goods products are professionally installed and backed, of course, by both a material and labor warranty. The schedule a free in-home consultation, and for more details, call 513-247-2900. That's 513-247-2900. Or as always, you can go to myallgoodhome.com. There we go. I want to make sure I get the read right for Ed Grant and those great folks at My All Good Home Improvement. All right. As we wrap it up here with Charlie Clifford of Channel 5, what are some of the big storylines going into the third preseason game, a game where the back-end guys may be fighting for that final special teams roster spot? Maybe a Joe Giles-Harris and Shaka Hayward. That's a possible battle to watch, along with Mema Njong-Meta. Boy, those are a lot of syllables that I just spit out right there.
You know what? It's a legit conversation, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. They've all, when they've played, have looked pretty good. I mean, let's face it. We know what happened with the first teamers out there last night, but there needs to be some credit to the second and third string who pretty much shut down Washington the rest of the day. I'm there, linebacker, and then how much are you playing Tyson Anderson and Dejon Anthony on Saturday? They got a ton of run last night. I
don't think a lot. I don't think Tyson Anderson sees the field.
Yeah, just because he's so important on teams.
Well, that, and if Geno Stone goes down or is not ready fully to start the season, I think Tyson. And how did you think Tyson Anderson looked on Monday night?
Well, he got a gift. I mean, he ran to right field and caught the pop-up, which, hey, that's what you have to do. You did what you needed to do. I mean,
it's a great way of putting it.
We've seen some Reds have some issues with some of those plays this year. So
Tyson did not.
I don't know. I mean, he's so easy to root for. The guy coming off the injury. I mean, you remember when he got hurt in San Fran in 23 the guy was just the special teams ace. And of course, you have to be thinking in the back of your mind, when am I going to get a chance to play defense? And he's right there. As you said, he's one play away now. So I don't know. I mean, there's no track record there. Same thing with Anthony. Has he popped at any point at camp? Probably not, with Anthony, but at least he's out there. At least they're getting some run. So that was kind of my big. And then how about your long snapper decision? Are we going to get one before Indy? Are they just going to say, hey, Cal's done enough?
I don't think now. I haven't looked at it. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but I haven't looked at it like Darren Simmons, special teams coordinator, has looked at it, of course. But barring anything falling off the cliff or anything that he has seen that has been egregious so far in the two preseason games, I think he's going to stay with Cal Adamitis. I just do. William Wagner, I think, was brought in, the classic case of this guy's competing for your spot, Cal.
Yep.
Make no bones about that. Yep. And I think Cal has responded probably in a way that Darren was like, okay, you learn your lesson, if you want to put it that way. But certainly maybe that sparks a more consistent play from the entire special teams, from the operational unit of Cal Adamitis. Obviously Ryan Rico, who had another beautiful coffin corner punt last night, and Evan McPherson,
who hit the 54-yarder late in the game, which is everything counts. Everything counts. What would you do at quarterback? Ritter and the kid from Auburn? Browning Saturday? Why is Browning needed?
I would think, I would think that is absolutely the way it would be. You don't want to endanger either one of those two. If something happens to Joe, you want to make sure that Jake is ready to go. Peyton Thorne.
Yep.
Peyton Thorne and Desmond Ritter. I think you're going to see a lot of them definitely see those two on Saturday and call it a day.
There we go. I'm ready.
Anything else on your mind?
This is the shortest week of the season, Monday to Saturday.
I'm not complaining about
this.
This
is great. Charlie. Let's do games every 4 days. It's great.
And it's a 1:00 game. Yeah, it might be a little bit warm and toasty on the turf. on Saturday afternoon against the Colts. Lou Anarumo's return to Paycor, by the way.
Interesting.
Going to chat him up?
Of course.
I plan to
really enjoyed those midweek convos, as I know you did.
Yeah, I learned a lot from Lou. I actually really learned a lot from Lou.
Yeah, it makes two of us.
Love his temperament. And I know he's missed inside the building, but I'm just going to say this. They had to go in a different direction, and sometimes the message needs to change. And I think Al Golden has done that. The 2 preseason game first halves aside, throw those 2 things out. I think the Bengals have been happy with the way Golden has set up the defense and the culture and what he's trying to do on defense. So we'll see.
How can you get mad at a guy who literally doesn't go home from work? I mean, all we hear is the guy is just, he's eat, sleep, breathe. It sounds like it's been very impressive behind the scenes.
Any guy that's forced into a vacation by the head coach, is a keeper. That's one way of looking at it. All right, Charlie, I'm going to let you go. Anything you're working on that you want to plug for?
No, we did it yesterday with you coming on in the concourse at Northwest Stadium. How many people in the U.S.
So I was going to ask.
Know the name Northwest Stadium? Because
do you know what Northwest is?
Last week.
Do you know
direction?
It is that. It is absolutely that. But do you know what it stands for? Do you know who is sponsoring the naming rights of that stadium, which used to be, of course, FedEx Field?
You're right. No, I have no idea.
It is a federal credit union in the Washington, D.C. area. Northwest Federal Credit Union, for anybody who was wondering.
When you think of Northwest,
the old airline. I think of the old airline, Northwest Airlines. That's what I thought.
You were flying back when jet engines were just still an idea in the sky, weren't you?
Yeah. Okay.
Put your goggles on. Put your leather cap on. Hey,
all right.
It's going. Got to get to practice.
Age jokes. You can't get enough of them. All right, Charlie. I'll let you go.
Thanks,
Charlie Clifford does a great job covering all things Cincinnati sports for WLWT. Be sure to follow him there and WLWT.com. My name is Mike Petralia, Trags. Want to thank our sponsors. Of course, that would be All Good Home Improvements and Prize Picks, and of course, the great team at CLNS Media. Until next time, keep that jungle roaring.